alive of three-peating. They have earned their ticket to the TELUS Canadian Championship final, a win here tonight over Pacific FC. They have a date with Toronto FC September 25th. There's your goal scorer on the night, back from injury as well. Vanni Sartini, hugs and kisses all around. Shook the hand of James Merriman right after the game before going and celebrating with his teammates. But I just love how, and I don't want to say it was a given or, you know, Vancouver, yes, was the favorite here, but he still doesn't take advantage of the fact that this was going to be a tough game, that he still needed to get through it, and you can see the emotion.
I love it. Like, you can... It's authentic how much he cares about this competition, which is outstanding to see, because over the years, some teams haven't taken it that seriously. He does. This is a stated goal for the Whitecaps, and they weren't at their best tonight. They looked very much like a team that had 20 days off, a little bit sloppy in distribution, but managed the game well after taking the early lead with the tie really in very much their control. I thought it was a professional performance, but far from perfect. He will nitpick about the performance, but the result, no questions asked. He's thrilled about it.
Yeah, Vancouver Whitecaps, they did enough. And speaking to Vanni Sartini yesterday, he just mentioned how these type of competitions just really bring the best out of this whole team. You know, you use everyone. You can see everyone on the same page. Yes, it wasn't everyone's best day on the ball, and I think the second half they're a bit slower, Vancouver Whitecaps, but they did enough to be in the finals. It's going to be their third finals, 3 straight years. So that's something to celebrate for sure.
Deserved.
So let's take a look at the bracket here. Vancouver Whitecaps obviously took care of business against Cavalry, and as the champions, the reigning champions, they did not have to go through that preliminary round. And then here, they get the job done against Pacific. As we know, Toronto and Forge both had to come through the preliminary round. Big win for Forge to finally get it done against CF Montreal. 4th time at the Canadian Championship, and they win. But they couldn't get past TFC, who took down 2 semi-pro teams to get to this point. So September 25th, it will be an all-MLS final. Ryan Gauld getting the goal here tonight. He is our Gatorade Performer of the Match, and he joins our Christian Jack.
With the match winner, Ryan Gauld, he made another final. How did it feel?
Yeah, it's good. You know, that was the objective from the start, obviously, to get back to the final and keep hold of the cup. And we knew it wouldn't be an easy game tonight. They would try and make it tough for us, and they did at times. But yeah, a couple of 1-0 wins, and good to be back in the final.
You get both goals in both legs, but you've been off for a while. How good did it feel to get out there physically, to get back out after 5.5 weeks?
Yeah, good. Just to get the legs going again, and not just myself. You know, all the boys have been itching to get a game since the last Leagues Cup game. So it was good for us all to, you know, get back in the pitch tonight, and we've got a big game Saturday now, and yeah, just good to get that minutes in the legs for the boys.
Ryan, as professionals, you play a lot of games. You don't play in a lot of finals, no matter what the competition is. Does it ever get old? Is it that important to get to finals and try and win things as professionals?
Yeah, it's what we all want to do in football. We all play football to win trophies, and you know, this one's no different. It's been really good for the boys, the club. The last 2 that we've won, and we're definitely looking to add the 3rd.
Last one for you. You chose our continent, and now Scotland has recognised that. You get your first call-up for 10 years. How good does that feel?
Yeah, it's a nice feeling. Obviously, I'm delighted to be called in, and just a good thing to look forward to, you know, a week after next.
We're delighted to have you. Congrats again on the final.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Cheers.
It's okay to show emotion, Ryan. It's okay to show that you're happy. I don't know if it was really hot out in Vancouver as well, and he felt like the energy was sucked out of him a little bit. But they do move on, and it's thanks to his goal. He scored in the first leg against Pacific. It was his goal that gave them the 1-0 aggregate lead, and it's his goal that officially punches the ticket as well. And yeah, he's back, Jordan, because he did miss some time with that knee injury, but you heard him say it was the first time also Vancouver's back in action since August 7th.
Yeah, for sure, and he just shows up in the right time, right? That header in the first leg was magnificent, the timing there, but for me, this is just a situation of a player that can know where the ball was going to land. You know, there's a bit of fortune, but when you're looking at this, Wheels, you're seeing that Pacific really made this difficult for them.
Clear the ball.
There was multiple options in TMG's. Had a really good year for Pacific, just played it down the middle to no one. You know, then, you know, you're running around like your hair's on fire. Like trying to defend a situation where there's players on the Whitecaps that are available everywhere. He slots at home. A good finish by Gauld. I mean, the goal in the first leg was something special.
Yes.
Like the way that he found the space and it was manufactured. This was a little bit of a gift courtesy of Pacific.
Well, he looks good. He's shaking off the rust as well, both the team and him personally. And they did have quite a few chances in this one as well. I mean, the Vancouver Whitecaps pretty much were the dominant team here.
Yeah, they were. They're in control from beginning to end. Obviously, second half, Pacific needed to come with something, and they did. And to say that they frustrated Vancouver Whitecaps, that would be a stretch. But you like the effort. I think Pacific can maybe take that into their season form in the CPL. But Vancouver in the driver's seat, but we knew this going into this match, the quality that they have within the squad, the fact that so many players were back and fresh. So you knew what they were going to bring. I think it's well-deserved for them to be in the final.
Yeah, it's not just Ryan. He mentioned the team getting back at it, but there's some players that are working back up to full fitness, including this man right here, Sam Adekubi, who has the potential to be a difference maker for this team down the stretch. Getting players in and around. The fact that Brian White left this game, that is going to be the headline other than qualifying for the final out of this. But just you needed some time to get these players back on the field. Raposo's kind of being in and out of the team. Ali Ahmed came off the bench. He hasn't been playing regular football. He's just getting back to full fitness as well. So, you know, it would be disrespectful to call this a training session because Pacific pushed them in the end and did ask some questions for it. But they got some bigger games that are upcoming for them, both in league as well as the championship final to come. And they're going to need to hit their stride and hit it pretty quickly.
Yeah, it wasn't a training session, but it was very comfortable for this Whitecap side. And they were experimenting with how they wanted to play. And oftentimes, too, there's a rhythm in a match, right, Wheels, when you have to play 1-2 touch football because the pressure's coming. But when you can make 2-3 decisions, you really have to be disciplined in your action. And I thought the Whitecaps, for the majority parts of the match, they played with that discipline. But it's difficult. When you're playing against an opposition that you know you can beat, that are a bit slow to press you, you have to almost think, what should I do in this moment as to what can I do? Do you know what I mean?
And we documented it heading into the half. There was a couple late challenges where you're just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I think the second half was more about managing it rather than taking it to Pacific. I mean, if Pacific had ended up scoring a goal, then maybe things could have got a lot more dicey, but they've just been really struggling. I'd even call them snake bitten a little bit tonight in terms of Pacific. The chances that they had and just how they weren't able to finish, it was a difficult one for Pacific yet again here today. But Vancouver, they remain the cream of the crop, and for my money, the best team in Canada at this time.
Yeah, and I think you're dead on there a little bit when it's because, you know, you look at how much Pacific is struggling, you look at what Vancouver has been doing, you think this should have been 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. Maybe they were managing, but also some of the shots they had, you got to give credit to the goalkeeper in Emil Gazdov, who he knew he needed to stand on his head. That one did get by him, but he did come up with some big saves here tonight. He joined our Christian Jack.
With Pacific FC goalkeeper Emil Gazdov, in the end you didn't make the final, but you were very competitive through both legs. What's your overall thoughts tonight?
Man, we gave everything out there. 1-0 was a bit of a disappointing result because it's so close. We knew that we could have conceded, and unfortunately we conceded first, and then we were just fighting to get back in. But I think you saw the boys gave everything. I tried to give everything, and we gave our best shot. It was a good run. I'm happy with the run this year, and we'll be back next year.
You obviously played a big part in both legs as well. How delighted are you with your own personal performance and to play on a field here where I know you've sat in the stands as a kid?
Yeah, like I've said many times, it's a dream. I remember sitting up there watching. So to play here, it's kind of surreal. Trying my best to focus on the game. I'm just happy I could help the team with the best way I could, just making saves, doing my thing, and yeah. So.
What's it like, Emil, to play for a club like this that's used to making semi-finals? That's 3 out of the last 4. They've played in CONCACAF, and they give young Canadian players like yourself a true opportunity to have these kind of moments.
It's big. It's really big. I mean, we pride ourselves on doing well in the league, playoffs, and most importantly, the Canadian Championship. Every year we set our goals. There's 3 goals up there. So every year to be consistently making the semi-final, to give ourselves the best chance to make the final, is what we're about as Pacific. Yeah, we want to try and win.
You have a very bright future, my friend. Keep going. Pleasure again to work with you and to cover you in the semi-final. Thanks, Emil.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Wouldn't know he lost a game. He's all smiles. Obviously, he came up with some good saves from another personal point of view. You heard him say it. And I know you've talked about this a lot. As much as we're like, focus on the game, this is the first time they're playing inside BC Place. It has to still be overwhelming, but also really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. It's a dream come true. And it's nice to see that side because, you know, we focus so much on tactics and how a team plays. But this is just a a young man who is really, I'm looking at a boy, like watching at BC Place, how excited you get, the dreams that you have. And in this country as well, in Canada, there's all these players that love football and love soccer, but there's certain stadiums that are like landmarks, you know, where you want to just grow up and be playing. And you see Emil Gazdov literally with like a Christmas smile, like he's so excited to just be there. And I thought he had a great game, but I agree with KJ, the sky's the limit for this guy and his potential.
That's what makes this tournament so special.
Exactly.
So many local players, whether it's CPL, League One, playing in the stadiums that they grew up watching, you know, the MLS teams.
Yeah.
You can see the smile on his face. Like, I love that. He's a very good young goalkeeper. He's got good size, hands, quickness, gets down for the ball very well. Last year was his decision-making. He's cleaned that up. What KJ said right there at the end, he has a big future ahead of him. Remember that name, Emil Gazdov.
Well, what's ahead for Pacific? We'll look back on this game here. We'll look ahead as well for them as they now are out of the Canadian Championship. We'll be turning their attention now to CPL action as the Vancouver Whitecaps on September 25th will have a date with Toronto FC to see who will lift the Voyageurs Cup. More coming up. Matchday Live right here on One Soccer.
Toyota's electrified vehicles are for everyone. Every chauffeur, snack connoisseur, every scenery soaker, practical joker, every road tripper, toe dipper, every 9-to-5er, every long driver. Starting over 20 years ago with the Prius, we now have the largest lineup of electrified vehicles in Canada because this journey belongs to everyone.
I wanna run back to you. All I wanna do is run back to you and make my dreams come true. The only thing I ever do is run right back to you.
When the stakes are high, only the TELUS 5G network delivers.
That shirt with these pants? Okay, graph paper? Don't box me in. Two-zipper pencil case, period.
We're gonna need a bigger backpack.
Oh, thank you.
A man who took this in from inside BC Place. It is Christian Jack joining us now. And Christian, Vancouver Whitecaps continue to be a top Canadian team once again in the final. What did you make of their performance?
Yeah, I think it was very professional, much like the first leg. You know, their ability to start games very well shouldn't be discounted. I think that was a big mistake again by Pacific. They just weren't at the races for the first 15 minutes, and ultimately it cost them. And the part of the Whitecaps for me is that, you know, when I go back to their time when they really were struggling 4 or 5 years ago, that was an element that I would notice a lot from them, their lack of concentration, intensity. They just get right at it right away. And I thought Laborda is a real special player on that right-hand side of the defense. He calms everybody down. He's very good in possession. And I thought Alessandro Schoff was very good as well. And overall, you know, they get to host another final here. It'd be interesting to see between now and September how that storyline develops in terms of who that favorite should be. You've got a 2-time reigning champion with the Whitecaps, but as we know, with Toronto FC and the money that they spend, it's never easy to call them an underdog when it comes to matches like that.
Yeah, they faced Cavalry. Now they face Pacific. Here they will be facing an MLS side, and it's the same for Toronto FC. So 2 MLS teams will clash in the final. Completely different complexion. When it comes to Pacific, KJ, we knew that scoring would be hard for them. They did seem to look different in that second half. What did you make of some of the chances they were able to generate?
Yeah, well, look, first of all, credit to James Merriman for being brave and changing it as on the fly as he did. You know, ultimately, it's been their Achilles heel the entire time. You know, they had a number of opportunities in this game to get through those moments. You know, Ryan Moore coming on, having that breakaway and having that chance when he had it. The penalty decision, I think what Jim Brennan said in commentary, where it was borderline, I would probably agree. I don't think it probably is a penalty. You think of the opportunities that they had, the Dominguez chance with the shot at goal as well. Zanata had a couple of moments as well. All in all, it's just those moments in time where they just haven't been able to finish games and have finish moments in the final third where you think that has been Pacific's problem. But ultimately, when you look at these chances, they look forced as if a team that needs to score 2 goals. And I just wonder if it had been 0-0, if they'd been a bit more calm and having to not chase the game. I do think that as James Merriman and his team make the travel back, and obviously back to Ontario to play Forge on Friday night, they will be haunted by the way that they started the game, and they've had a lot of time to plan for this moment, and ultimately it was very forced in attack, and that's been the big problem over the last couple of years. As I mentioned in the pre-game show, that's now 14 out of 58 games in the last couple of seasons where they've scored 1 goal or less, and you're not going to win many games when it comes to that.
You know, I know we're going to focus on this game, obviously, in particular here, KJ, but also just big picture, the way CPL teams were able to perform in the Canadian Championship. I mean, Cavalry getting a result against Vancouver, obviously Forge defeating CF Montreal, beating TFC in leg 1. Pacific a bit of a tougher go here against the Vancouver Whitecaps, but how do you just kind of look at the big picture?
It's a great question. How do I look at it you know, I think it depends how you frame something and how you walk into it. I don't think we can ever sit here in 2024, 5 years into a professional league, and it's the 6th season, seasons that have been hit by the pandemic, and say we can ever really expect, with the money difference now between the Canadian Premier League and a Major League Soccer team, that we should ever expect a CPL team to win against an MLS team. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't win. And by the way, I think that's 21 out of 28 games in history where games have been decided by 1 goal or less. And all 8 games this season, CPL MLS, 1 goal or less. There's a phenomenal record for the Canadian Premier League, a phenomenal achievement for a bunch of owners and teams and the managers that they've been able to accomplish this. We can all sit here and talk about a $15 million man who scored 1 goal in Toronto tonight, or a DP player like Ryan Gauld who got called up for Scotland, scoring both goals. They are the difference makers, and MLS have got that model that has been working them for many years to be able to do that. The Canadian Premier League is going well and going in the right direction, and the fact that they're competing and getting to these games and giving these young Canadians and these teams an opportunity in this league is a fantastic sign. It's great for the fabric of the sport in this country. This is what the sport looks like in so many other countries around the world that we're talking about, these national competitions with so many teams in them. Now they're not 3 or 4 team competitions. The Whitecaps are better for it. We're all better for it.
Definitely the Whitecaps, again, as it has expanded, they are once again showing that they are the team to beat. KJ, appreciate you taking in the time. Christian Jack out in BC Place taking in this game between Vancouver Pacific, Vancouver Whitecaps. Moving on. One Nation every Tuesday between me and the man to my left, Jordan Wilson, also known as Wills and Trills. That's who we become.
Back.
Every Tuesday, 7 p.m. ET. It's our alter egos of Wills and Trills on One Nation. Be sure to tune in for that. Smiles all around for the Whitecaps. Their TELUS Canadian Championship journey continues, and we'll have more for you as Matchday Live continues on One Soccer.
thank you, Canada, for making dreams come true. We're with you all the way.
Here's a look at your full-time stats. Ryan Gauld getting the goal here tonight, just like he did in leg one. 15 shots total, 7 of them on target for Vancouver. Pacific, though, turning it up just a little bit in that second half, managing 3 shots on target, but just couldn't find the back of the net. Scoring has been a huge problem for this team. Here's their head coach, James Merriman.
So, James, it was a battling performance by your team in the end. The early goal was always going to be a killer if you considered it with your scoring woes this year. How did you see that one play out?
I think it's that. That's the biggest thing we spoke about before the match, is that we knew we need to be disciplined, we need to be focused off the start and be organized and try to get to half. And try to push into the second half and then start to open the games, then start to press higher and attack. But when we concede in the first 10, 15 minutes of the match with the scoreline and everything, it's always going to be uphill. It's always going to be difficult from there. They have so much quality, intelligence. They're going to manage the game from that point on. So it's disappointing to give that goal so early in the way that we did. It was a poor goal for us to play inside like that. And give them that opportunity. But then after that, I think you can see a lot of really positive individual performances. I think the way they responded, the way we responded in the second half, we showed some quality there. But at the end of the day, that first goal was going to kill us.
It's awkward because he's sitting right beside you, but one of those top performances was Emil. I thought you were fantastic this evening. Just say a little bit about his growth from last season to this season.
Yeah, I think not only last season, because there's years before that where he's got to find that patience. He has big confidence. He has ambition. He wants to see where he can go with his football, and he wants to maximize his potential, and he's working towards that every day. And I think last year was a big learning for him, as he was more the number one for us, and trying to stay and keep that consistency and build the mentality to be able to handle the number one position and that responsibility. And then I think this year you've seen him take big steps, big strides, played in difficult environments, and shown really, really well, more mature, more composed. Comes into BC Place, and not only this game, the first leg as well. Some excellent saves, some really good composure, and high ceiling.
James, just wondering what the thought process was.
So the final is set for the 2024 TELUS Canadian Championship. Vancouver Whitecaps, Toronto FC, September 25th, right here on One Soccer. So let's look ahead to that one. Bit of an interesting path, and I say that because, as we know, TFC in the first rounds faced semi-pro teams. Forge was their toughest challenge. They get by them. They're in the final. Vancouver joins in the quarterfinals. The first leg, they beat Cavalry. Second leg, Cavalry beats them, which prompted Vanni Sartini to say the away goal rule shouldn't matter because we should be in pens right now. And then they beat Pacific here, but in both games, it's only, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, only 1-0 victories each time. Maybe you think they should have beaten them by a bigger score. What kind of challenge do these two MLS teams now pose to each other, given their paths that they took to get here?
It's a rematch of the 2022 final. Remember, it was like Bernadeschi and Insigne, they just landed. They just started with Toronto FC. Brian White scored early. Lucas McNaughton equalized for TFC off a really good ball by Bernadeschi, by the way. Went to penalties and the Whitecaps won. That was their first in what they hope is going to be 3 this time around. I think the Whitecaps playing at home and based upon the quality they have in their side are the favorites. I say that with a little bit of a question mark, not knowing the status of Brian White. We're a month out now. But if I'm the Vancouver Whitecaps, understanding that something like this could happen, I go out there and try to find a free agent striker to bring in. I just thought that Krylat coming in today, completely different player. I think they need some more depth in that area. Toronto FC is playing much better, including tonight. They've won 5 of their last 8 games. They've only lost twice, and both times were to Inter Miami, the best team in Major League Soccer. If they get a little bit more composure, a little bit more finish in front of goal, then I think they can be a very dangerous team in this game going forward. I think it means that much more to Toronto FC. I'm not sure if you agree. I think the Whitecaps have an outside chance of maybe qualifying for the Champions League, pending on how they fare. This is Toronto FC season. They want to get back in CONCACAF, play in the Champions Cup next year. It's going to be a huge game for TFC. I give Vancouver the advantage, but TFC are going to make it a game.
Well, that's it right there. TFC have all that to play for, right? Because the Champions Cup is just looming. And for a team that might not make playoffs, if you have a championship and you have a title to your name for a season, it feels good, and that's something that you can always remember. But Vancouver, it's theirs to lose. Like, for me, like, they are that good this year. I know with Brian Wright, that's a huge question mark for White and his health. But just that team, that's familiar for them to win, also to win at BC Place. So for me, I'm putting all my chips, if I had money, on Vancouver
Some
Whitecaps.
wild games are being played at BC Place in the final. Will Johnson breaking his leg. There's history here. There's history.
There is, but I just think for the first time in this Canadian Championship, both these teams are going to really be challenged here. And contrary to the other rounds being home and away, this is a one and done. This is it. We got the one game. If you win, you are the winner. Earlier tonight, it was Lorenzo Insigne who was involved in all aspects of the game, getting the goal to give Toronto FC the win. And then later on, it was Ryan Gauld for Vancouver Whitecaps who got the job done there. And they are off to the final September 25th right here on One Soccer. It's been a long night. It's been a fun night. It's been great having you around. You've been watching the 2024 TELUS Canadian Championship right here on One Soccer. On behalf of the entire crew, Jordan, Wheels, and Andy, we'll see you next time.